You're listening to the World Footy Net podcast. Welcome to the World Footy Net podcast. You can email us at podcast@worldfooty.net or alternatively, post your comments on the World Footy Net Facebook page.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 45th episode of the WFN podcast. I am your not-so-humble host, Hooligan Broom. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, it is Hooligan Broom. Duh. Anyway, with us tonight is our ever-faithful engineer and founder of WFN, Dre Footy. How are you doing, Dre?
I'm good, Hooligan. Thanks for that. And I'm on Twitter as well, at DreFooty, as you would guess. And you can also follow WFN at WFootyNet. That's where you can catch up on all the banter that's there. And I'm sort of known as the guy who doesn't like the MLS structure. So, I wear it like a badge.
Well, none of us except angry like the MLS. What's your point? Anyway, moving on. Also with us tonight is Angry Sherrard, who's not too angry tonight.
Hello, my name is Andre Sherrard. My Twitter handle is AHT4005, and I am pretty calm today. I got my own basketball pad, so ladies, come holler at me.
Damn, drop your draws! Also with us tonight is the ever lovely Alex. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing great. And you guys can follow me on Twitter at AlexV, and that's spelled with a K and two E's.
All right. And also, last but definitely not least, the Macam murderer.
God save the queen.
Kurt.
Yep, my Twitter name, Macam Ladkit.
All right.
In a few words.
Yeah, man, a few words.
Enough said.
Yep.
Hey, Kurt.
Yeah.
Have you had any Jamesons today? Or maybe a cider?
No.
Why not?
I'm not even that
No wonder he sounds so mellow.
Alrighty then.
He's as calm as Sherrard, man.
It rubs off. It rubs off.
Right along. So we have the Euros going on, guys. It's been relatively interesting. It's definitely not turned out how I would have thought it was going to turn out at all, in lots of respects. But all said and done, I think the play has been a little lackluster by my standards. I just, a lot of these guys, I think it's been good, like I said, so I'm not being overly critical here. But just from a coach's mindset, some of the play, I've kind of been like, I don't know how to put it, disorganized, I guess is the best way to put it. England in particular, as far as the disorganization goes. But overall, it's kept me pretty interested. Kurt, how about you?
Yeah, well, I've enjoyed it since day one, to be fairly honest. It's got real national tournament feel to it. Everything's panned out just as we basically expected, and there have been some good games, some better than others. And I've found that the smaller teams have pretty much been more entertaining than the bigger ones. And although I've really enjoyed the football on display, it's nice to have this 2-day break from it, because for the past 2 weeks or so, all I've done is watch football from the highlights to the live games.
Yep.
And like any of our tournament, it does feel like a journey, because we've been here since day one, and we've watched the teams begin as equals. We've watched teams lower their chances, get disappointed, eliminated, and we've watched the 4 lucky teams progress to the upcoming semi-finals. And but at the same time, we've had some games that we're looking forward to that ended up being not as good as we expected. Spain versus France, for example. But yet again, there's actually been some games that have been sent to amaze. The ones that did it for me were Denmark versus the Dutch, Ukraine and Sweden, and Czech versus Poland. But that's just the scrappy game is just has the kind of feel I like to it.
Alex?
I've really enjoyed the tournament so far, and I kind of like the fact that some games were, um, just very dramatic and had very unexpected results. And for me, like, I personally enjoy when a game gets down to penalties or extra time because there's just so much like emotion behind that, and I think that's what makes the tournament a tournament as opposed to, watching the Premier League or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Angry?
Yeah, I've enjoyed this tournament. There have been a lot of exciting games. Except for the England Italy game, there hasn't been any 0-0 matches. So at least there have been a couple of goals and a couple of exciting games in there. So football has definitely kept me interested, and the subplots like Nazari getting mad at the media and Russia flopping when they should have probably won that group. Everything just kept me interested in this tournament so far.
Yeah. I have one thing to say to Nasri. Ha 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 ha. You.
I know you were
Anyway.
waiting for that dude to lose.
God. Dre, what have you thought?
Not the biggest Nasri fan, are you?
No. I'd like to stab him in the neck with a rusty fork.
All right, on that note, I'm not usually a national team person. I'm not nationalistic by nature. And so, I've been pleasantly surprised by the play of this. And I think largely due to the fact that there are no club games going on right now. This is sort of the closed season for
Right.
the leagues that I like to follow. So, here we are with players that I can identify with, a competition that I can identify with, and quite frankly, I've been pleased since day one. I'm like Alex and Kurt in that respect, and I think that another reason is typically when we come to a World Cup or a tournament like this, a lot of the play becomes very negative. But I haven't seen that in this tournament. It's been pretty wide open, a lot
Yeah.
of open play, and to your point, Hooligan, maybe not the most technically skilled that that you can witness, but it's been exciting. I mean, a lot of the mistakes, a lot of the disorganization has made the tournament interesting to me,
Right.
and some of the stuff that you see. So each game has its own character, and I've enjoyed every single game that I've seen. And I think I've only missed 2 games out of the entire tournament, and but I've been very, very happy with it, and I'm looking forward to these semifinal games because I think they're 2 really good matchups, and I think that
Yeah.
I think we'll see the quality now. Hopefully they won't freeze up and play negative, afraid to lose. But the character of these teams don't seem to have that.
Well,
Yeah.
I can agree I can agree with y'all pretty much on that.
You would think during these tournaments that players would get tired, and it doesn't look like that too much out of these players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean Ronaldo's played what almost 12 straight months now.
Yeah.
He hadn't
Yeah,
had
I
any
mean
breaks.
there really does seem to be some true fitness going on and some tenacity in play, which I like that. Uh, and I actually I haven't seen a whole lot of diving. There's been some, like there always will be, but not to the level from the teams I expected it to come from.
Yeah, I was
So
afraid of that.
Spain.
yeah,
Yeah, Spain and
I
Italy.
yeah, and that's refreshing.
Yeah,
It seems like the players in large part are getting the message that we as fans aren't interested in that crap. We get tired of watching it. Especially when it's obvious. And I always wonder if it's this obvious to us watching, why isn't it that obvious to the officials?
yeah.
But that's a different story. And for me in this tournament so far, I think the Netherlands has been the biggest disaster as far as a team would go. Some people might disagree and say, Republic of Ireland, but I mean, they went and played with heart. At least there was that,
They didn't have the expectation either that Holland had.
exactly. And then you got the Netherlands, who I picked to at least go this far, just an absolute disaster. those guys didn't seem to want to play together. It was almost like, a couple of them, no names mentioned, said, my bobblehead is bigger than yours, and I'm going to push you off the field with it.
They
I
could
mean,
have
I
used
just,
Dirk Coit.
yeah,
He's a winner. We talk about him as a not a great player, but he has those winning attributes that some of those players don't.
well, he's tenacious, is what he is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and he may not have the style and maybe the skill we see out of a Robin or Van Persie, but he will knock a fool off a ball, and he'll take it. It may not be pretty when he does it, but he'll push that ball upfield. Anyway, Alex, what's your say?
I agree about the Netherlands, but for me personally, the biggest disappointment was Russia. No wonder they fired the FA president recently. If you look at their previous performances earlier in the year, their performance in the Euro was just unacceptable. They defeated Italy 3-0 earlier this year. After they lost, the press just went wild blaming Arshavin, but you know what? It's the whole team. I think it's just that Advocat is not the coach they need, and we all know the reason for his unmotivated attitude towards the Euro. He knew that he was going to leave the national team. He already signed a contract with, I think it's PSV. But yeah, he already signed a contract with the club that he used to coach, and so obviously he didn't really care about the Euro result, and it was just a disaster, and it was sad to watch because Russia deserved to have played a better game, have had a better coach, and have gone farther in the Euro.
Not for nothing. I mean, do they have borscht in the Ukraine? Anyway. Kurt?
The biggest disaster was Ireland. They come bottom of our group, 0 points, -8 goal difference, and that's the joint worst European record to date. And they've got Spain and Italy in the group, and I expected a lot more from them, truth be told. Giovanni Trapattoni, he's a fantastic manager, and I thought he'd do quite good for the team. They've got some good players: Aidan McGeady, James McLean, Shea Given, Keane. I thought they'd do better, but they completely crashed and burned.
As I've said about the Russians, I will ask about the Irish. Do they serve Guinness in the Ukraine? Do we know? Because
Interesting question.
That could be a deciding factor.
Things that make it go,
Yeah, angry.
Since y'all mostly took mine, I'll just go with Sweden. I thought they'd do more with, Ibrahimovic spearheading the attack. But, once you saw that they only have one player,
Ibrahimovic?
which I thought they would have more player like Kim Kallstrom and players like that, but it seemed like they only did have one player, and he showed his magic against France. Yeah, I thought they would do more. I actually was thinking they'd get out of their group, but just wasn't meant to be. I don't know how long Ibrahimovic says he's going to stay on for the national team, but I don't know how long he's going to play for these losers, quite frankly.
Yeah, Dre?
I had Russia actually going to the semifinals in the tournament. And so to see how they turned out. And Poland, I thought that being at home with the talent that they have would have been enough in the group that they're in. I know the Czech Republic's a strong squad, but I just thought Russia had a little bit more in them than what they displayed out there, and that is kind of shocking. I think the Netherlands, goes without saying, was the disappointment of the tournament. They really gave nothing. The first 20 minutes against Denmark, I thought they played to their potential, except finishing. If they could have put away those early chances, it could have been a very different tournament for them. But they died after that, and they never recovered. And that display was terrible. But I've heard you guys talking about Ireland. I think Ireland had the misfortune of being in a terrible group for them. I think if they had been in a group with, say, Russia, Poland, and so forth, they would have been better. But they're in there with Spain, Italy, and Croatia. That's huge. That's the group of death, basically. And so they have a lot of heart. I was proud of the way that they played. They came to play. They just not that good. I mean, they don't have the players right now. And so, all credit to them. I know it was the worst record one of the worst records in the history of the tournament, but they're in one of the toughest groups with the least amount of talent. And so you can't really expect much there. So
Yeah, I mean that was my thing with Ireland. They showed up and played with heart, and for anyone to say Keane is good, well, we can argue that all day.
he wouldn't be in the MLS. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it,
Exactly.
more,
Exactly.
more to my point. But
MLS
that
world class.
I don't know. I mean, with what Ireland has, I mean, what did anyone really expect? Not for nothing. It may be the worst on paper, but was it really the worst?
They
They looked
performed okay.
decently organized when they were playing, but their game just doesn't match up against the Spain and Italy.
They held Italy to 1-0 until late in the second half, and Balotelli hit that wonder strike. So
Yeah.
they did good, but they're just like y'all said, they're just not good enough against these teams.
Right. Moving on though, who surprised us? I'll say for me, England surprised me because that was the team that I supported in this tournament. But after the second game, just seeing the general disorganization, watching balls get put into space with nobody there, nobody having the sense to make the run. It seemed like basic, football 101 was missing, and there was no team communication. But at the end of the day, they kind of reminded me of Chelsea a little bit. They ground out the result. They ground it out, and then when they got up against the organized team like Italy, there we go. Their disorganization was exposed, and they couldn't get any goals. I mean, that's my opinion. For what it's worth, probably not much. A nickel, maybe. Dre?
I want to talk about this England thing because the expectation going into this group, there was a lot of negativity directed at England. And, the egos and the fact that they always underwhelm when they play. But, they won their effing group. And they played well and took a better Italy team to penalties, almost made the semifinals. And compared to recent international performances, that's a vast improvement. And I don't remember, and this is the first time I don't remember seeing egos or selfish play in the tournament for them, And I know what everyone was expecting. On the one hand, you got people saying, "Oh, they're going to be horrible. They're not going to make it out of the group. They're this, they're that, blah 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 blah." Then they win the group. They push Italy to penalties on the verge of getting to the semifinals. Then I hear the criticism about England. They were sorry, the same old England. They went out on penalties, but it's not the same. I think. Funny thing is, and I'll say this as a United supporter, when Rooney came on, when he was past his suspension time and he played in that third game, I think that might have been a negative for him, for the team. They should have stayed with what they had in the first two games because they had a team that was well oiled and running well. What happened with Rooney when he came on, there was this enormous expectation that I think got to him. He had a real bad Italy game when it got right down to it, and I think that really messed up the chemistry of the team to a certain degree. But no doubt about it, Italy were a better team. And the fact that they went to penalties was remarkable in my mind. So,
See, I'll disagree with you a little bit real quick there.
Okay.
For the simple, I think if Wilshire's healthy, a whole different story. I think you kick Milner and Parker out,
Oh yeah,
whole different
the
story.
two worst players on the England squad, Milner and Parker.
I think you put Theo in more of a central position, put Defoe and Ox out wide, Rooney and Walcott in the middle, and of course this is fantasy land now, but you have Wilshire, and everyone hates Henderson, and yeah, he doesn't play up to expectation, but I think you put him in the middle with Wilshire, and I think you have enough of a utility there because I think the back line's maybe not the greatest. And just as a sidebar, every time I was looking at John Terry, George Clinton's Atomic Dog keeps running through my head.
I thought
Barking
Terry had.
dog, nasty dog.
I thought he had a really
Anyway,
good tournament.
moving on.
Too
I,
much, too
I
much.
mean,
Yeah.
Stevie G, I like him, but he seemed like,
He looked out of sorts.
yeah, he did. He would have been my sub. He would have been my sub.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but
we forget that Rooney had to probably chase around Pirlo also. I mean, they're playing basically 4-4-2. You have Pirlo, just pinging
right.
balls in, and you have Parker and Gerrard both dealing with the other two midfielders.
I
I
didn't
mean,
like the touch of Milner or Parker though on the
yeah,
offensive side. Their passing and their first touch were horrendous, and they kept giving the ball away, and it was really driving me crazy.
Yeah, both of them are bad. There's no reason they should be on the national team.
I mean, it's a good point
No
about
reason.
Rooney and Pirlo, but I still, I stand by what I said.
no,
Just
that's
from
fine.
watching the game and
Well, you may
I,
stand by that, but let's look at it this way. If there's somebody, Rooney, he doesn't play for my side, but he is an extraordinary footballer.
yeah, oh yeah,
Whatever you want to say about him, Shrek head, whatever. Uh, if he has someone to feed him the ball, he's gonna score. And if he doesn't
Yeah.
actually score, he's gonna come close. I mean, I won't say he's Messi per se, but I mean the man puts balls on target. It's not very he goes wide, but you don't see him go above the goal a lot. He goes wide, and most of it's on it's on target. Uh, I I don't know.
yeah, I agree with you. I just think that perhaps he would have been better in that third game coming off the bench.
He might have been better as a
I,
sub.
I
Yeah.
just to get him into the groove because not just starting. I think the expectation. I think it was a bit much for him under the
Okay.
circumstance. But I mean, at the end of the day, England played well. They, like I said, they won their group, almost made it to the semis, and enjoyable to watch.
I think that the expectations for the England team overall were just messed up because something that I completely forgot to mention in my article on their games was the fact that Roy Hodgson only had like 40 days to get his team ready for the Euro.
Oh
Yep,
yeah.
Whereas
that's
like
another good point.
Italy's coach Prandelli has been with the team for over 2 years now. So England wasn't equally matched with the Italians to begin with. And that said, Hodgson has 2 years right now to prepare the
Hmm.
team for the World Cup. And I think that if he can make some changes to the current team, if he lets go of some of that conservative decision making and gets some better people in the middle and a few more strikers, we can expect some great things in the World Cup.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
I think
Hodgson will work that out though. I think, like Alex said, when he has more time,
yeah.
I mean, he had no time to
You
put
know what this
anything together.
reminds me of? This is just like the expectations on Jurgen Klinsmann with the U.S. men's national team. It's like you can't build a team in,
Hmm.
a month or two, or even 3 months. It
Especially
takes time.
especially with the shambles that the U.S. Youth system has had over the past few years.
Hmm.
Oh, let's not get into this because I'll just get stabby.
Don't get me
Kurt,
started.
Kurt, what do you think about England?
Yeah, well, this organisation was pretty shocking to be fair. And for example, when we got the ball, we just constantly failed to keep it. We tried to get it up front, and we just we just we just weren't going forward enough. We were too behind, and then defenders were just getting on top of us and getting the ball away from us. But to be honest, I expected us to finish second in the group and get smashed off Spain in the quarterfinals. So it's got to count for something. Against Italy, in the first 20 minutes, we played great. In fact, we played like a Spanish team, and that's when it all fell apart. And after that match, I was heartbroken. But when you look back on it, the expectations were really really low, and we had a better tournament than expected.
Yeah.
So that really has got to count for something, and hopefully we can get organised for the 2014 World Cup, improve ourselves, it'd be fantastic. Roy, he's a decent manager, and it seems as though he's probably been the right choice to finally have an English manager. So on the 2014 World Cup, I'm gonna high in my expectations, and hopefully we can reach the quarterfinals of that, and hopefully even go even further.
Yeah, it would be nice. Moving on, though, guys, were there any real surprises in the quarterfinals? I personally didn't think so. I thought the winners of these games were pretty obvious, and I can't say how happy I am to see France crash out without scoring a point on the Spaniards. Anyway, Alex?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I think the quarterfinals went, according to plan. It was pretty obvious that it would be Spain, Portugal, Germany in the semifinals. I guess I wasn't really expecting Italy up there, and it's probably because I was hoping that my national team would have made it to the quarterfinals, but I really think that if Ukraine had made it, they would have been a formidable opponent for Italy, actually, and if England hadn't made it. So for me, the awesomest semifinal would have been Ukraine versus Germany, because I would have loved to see that rematch between them. But I'll just cross my fingers that Italy play an interesting enough game. I do want Germany to make it to the final, but I don't want them to have an easy time because I somehow enjoy watching the teams suffer and go at it. So it makes me sound so violent.
Yeah. Well, I think Ukraine plays Italy and comes out on top, personally, just
Really?
by the way Ukraine played. Yeah. I think they bulldog Italy and win if that were to happen.
I
But
would have liked to have seen that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's just my opinion. Trey, so what do you think of the quarterfinals?
I think it was, at this level, when you get to the quarterfinals, there really aren't too many potential upsets. The only potential one in this round would have been Greece if they would have done anything with Germany. But I think out of all the other matchups there, either team, well, maybe France or, doing something with Spain, but it wouldn't have been too shocking at this level. But going back to the England thing, right quick, people are kind of criticizing, the fact that it was decided on penalties or whatever. But I think that if you don't want to go to penalties, you got to win it in regulation time
Right.
and stop trying to figure out, let's try to win this some other way, like they did in the NASL, run up to the goal, give you 5 seconds to score, or have a golden goal. People are talking about the golden goal again and stuff like that. I'm like, leave it alone. It's fine. And,
yeah.
and like Alex said earlier in the program, it's drama. I mean, it's exciting to watch.
Yeah.
It's edge of your
It's the new
seat
reality
stuff.
TV.
Yeah. And to see the two Ashleys miss, there are stories there.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Ashley Young's
Cashley, you
only chance
mean?
to redeem himself.
Yeah.
I can't.
Hey, that's what he gets for diving all those times. I'm telling you, man.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, why I got to be two
Karma's.
brothers missing? I don't like.
Hey, Balotelli made his.
Yeah, I'm bringing that up again.
So, angry. Were you saying little prayers to the football gods during the Greece game? Of, oh my God, I'm facing not watching footy for a year
And
if
broken
they
toe.
go through?
I really wasn't concerned,
Yeah.
but no, I wasn't concerned until I saw the starting lineup and he didn't start the three starting players he's been starting for the whole group stage. I thought that was special, but I mean,
Little doubt came in though, right?
yeah,
A little bit of doubt.
I mean, Germany couldn't lose that match.
Right.
I mean, they're just way better than them, so I just didn't see that happening.
Yeah.
As for any other surprise, I would only think of maybe France playing two right backs on the right side, which failed miserably because on the first goal, Debuchy got beat by Jordi Alba, and the second goal, I think it was the same player, fouled Pedro to give Spain a 2-0 win. I think Lawrence should have started with the lineup he's been starting with. Have them sit in. I'm pretty sure that Nazari and Ribéry could sit in just a little bit. and then come out in the counterattack. But, having those two guys on the right side, you're not going to get much attacking force out of that, even if you do get the ball. So I was just kind of surprised that France didn't at least go for it a little bit. But other than that, I mean, no surprises. If you're a soccer dummy and you're doing the predictions, except maybe for Portugal and Netherlands, which you could have probably tossed up, you got these right, pretty much.
Indeed. Kurt?
Yep, Spain, Portugal, Germany, and Italy as your usual suspects. I mean, before the quarters, obviously I would prefer it to be Spain, Portugal, Germany, and England, but
Yeah.
that wasn't the case. I'm looking forward to seeing what the semi-finals hold, and I expected the Netherlands to be right up there as well. But there's always going to be one of these big teams that crash and burns in the group stages, and that team just so happened to be the Netherlands.
Yep.
France, Greece, and Czech Republic all deserve to get beat. And in a way, I suppose England quite did
Yeah.
deserve to get beat, because when it went to penalties, I just knew that England didn't stand a chance anywhere. I mean, out of 9 shootouts we've won once, and that's just an absolutely poor record. And Ashley Young's only chance to redeem himself for such a poor Euro 2012, he hits it off the crossbar. But I'm not really going to get into that too much because it's just so depressing.
Well, moving on from that, the semis, I'm saying Spain and the Krauts come out of this. I mean, Portugal's okay, but they're okay. I think when Spain chooses, they can be brilliant. And I'll say the same of the other Krauts. I think when they choose to be, they can be brilliant. Germany, Italy, for me, I think is going to be a little bit of a harder game because both teams are relatively organized. And I think that one's going to be a fight. It might even be such a fight that it's a little bit boring. But I see the Germans coming out on top with that. Kurt, what do you think?
Well, Portugal versus Spain, I mean, I'm not really sure whether to call this kind of a national derby or not. But I've
Yeah,
been to both countries, they seem relatively happy with each other. Uh, Quite cultural differences, but when it comes to football, they are completely different. And my prediction in that game is going to be 3-1 to Spain.
yeah,
Uh, I'm not really sure why, to be honest. That just kind of seems like the kind of scoreline we're looking at here. And then we have Italy versus Germany. I'm I'm looking forward to seeing if Italy can take their poor finishing skills of their last game into the semi-finals to face Germany and live to tell a story, because they aren't going to get 36 shots in that game too. And for that reason, I'm going to say 1-0 to Germany.
yeah. Angry?
I'm gonna go against the grain on this one. I'm gonna say that Ronaldo's gonna start tracking back because he knows how important this game is. He knows that if he doesn't help out with the defense as much as the offense, then he'll be an okay tournament for him. It won't be one of those great tournaments that he'll remember. Plus, he's going up against Arbeloa on the on his left hand side, and both those are Real Madrid teammates, and I don't trust that right back against Ronaldo. I just don't, just can't. And on the other side, Jordi Alba's like to go forward, but Nani's going to have to push him back, which I think he can do. And I'm going to say that Spain's not going to have enough. I'm going to say it here. They don't have a striker. I mean, that one of their midfielders scored both goals. So I think that Portugal can do similar things to what Italy did in the first match, the way they could frustrate them, get good opportunities. And if you give Ronaldo just one or two good opportunities on this form, I think he could score one or two goals and make this maybe a 1-0 win or a 2-1 win to Portugal. So that's what I'm gonna choose on that one. Germany, Italy. Italy's Italy's just gonna be real tired from the game. I mean, Germany's had lots of rest, and like I said, Gomez, Mueller, and Podolski didn't even play in the quarterfinals. They played a little bit towards the end. but they had a good rest with just a little kickabout towards the end. So I think Germany is going to come out of there with a 2-0 victory, and it's going to be Germany Portugal.
Okay, that's interesting. I like your assessment there. I would have to disagree on the Portugal thing, but I can definitely see what you're saying.
I mean, I'm just going for the fact that he might treat this like a Barcelona game where he needs to track back.
Yeah, no, I definitely see your point. Like I said, I'm still gonna have to disagree, but
that's fine.
That's something that when I watch that game, and you guys don't tell me about it, I'll be ignoring Twitter.
Yeah, please stay off because I'm gonna be all over it.
I'm gonna have to do the same.
Yeah, and when I watch the game when I get home tomorrow, I'll be looking for that. That's very interesting assessment.
Don't look at
Alex?
Twitter.
Plus, I have Portugal predicted on my thing, so kind of have to stick with that.
Alex, what do you think?
I'm gonna agree that Portugal are gonna have their chances. I'm gonna say that both Portugal and Italy are gonna have a lot of chances in those games. I think that both semifinal games are gonna be very close. And of course, a lot of people are saying it's gonna be Spain versus Germany for the final. Now, whether or not that's gonna happen is gonna depend on things like, will Portugal find a way to stop being so Ronaldo-centered and play as a team, and will Italy play against the Germans the same way that they played against England? And, will history repeat itself and have Germany in third place for the millionth time? Who knows? But I see Italy having a shot at this, and I think Portugal will have chances, and it'll be up to them whether or not they make use of their chances.
Dre, what do you got to say?
I think that even with the missing players Spain has, they far outskilled Portugal, who are a one-man team at the moment. And add to that Spain will spend a lot of time on the ball, depriving Portugal of the full potency, of their only weapon. And, it would be different if Nani could step up a bit and take some of the pressure off Ronaldo, but Ronaldo is it. And I think Spain can isolate him as far as the threat. And I don't see them scoring against Spain. Maybe a 2-0. Spain doesn't have the potency, but they're going to have a lot of the ball. And when you have a lot of the ball, you have a lot of chances. And so I think that Spain will get through on that one. Germany just knows how to win. And, that's the team right now, the only team that has won all their games. They can score. They're solid at the back. And I think Italy, besides being, fatigued from that extra time victory in the shootout, I think they'll have trouble trying to break Germany down. And, I think that Germany could go through this entire tournament with a perfect record. I don't see the weaknesses that Italy can exploit to the point of getting something out of the game. And so they're not, Germany doesn't have a lot of flair. They're just solid. And I think these guys will be the winners of the tournament.
Machine-like.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are. Once those Krauts get going, I mean, seriously, I mean, they really are a force to be reckoned with. Yeah. Well, all right, guys. That's about all the time we have for this evening. I appreciate y'all joining us, and we'll have some more banner next week. All right?
All right. Thanks a lot.
That's good.